Hey everyone, welcome to Wedding Sushi, where we take fresh ideas, tips and tricks on planning, and roll them up into bite-sized episodes. Today in the studio with me, I have Lance Begnaud with True Video. Hey Lance.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
I was really excited to be on.
Yeah. So Lance and I have been working together for quite a while now, shooting videography for weddings. And you worked for several years, subcontracted with other companies, and then finally started your own company in January of 2020.
That's right, because I have the world's best timing. I decided to launch my brand right before COVID hit, which was just great. And then everything shut down immediately. But then once things reopened, things started to take off very quickly. And True Video has, after that really rough start, we've really taken off beyond what I initially expected. It's been fantastic, actually.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And tell me, because we were talking a little bit before we actually started rolling on camera, but how did you get into video? How did you fall into this career path?
So I am the biggest movie geek that you've ever met in your entire life. I watch everything. And for a while, I thought that I wanted to be a film director. So when I was younger, I was about 20 years old. I saved up a bunch of money and I bought a video camera and some microphones, and I got together with some friends, and together we made some very bad short films, just for fun.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was at that point that I realized that I could take this equipment and people would pay you to film their weddings, their birthday parties, what have you. And if you were good with the equipment and you knew what you were doing in the editing room, there was a business to be made there.
Very cool. So your first wedding that you ever shot by yourself, where was it? Do you remember?
Oh, the first wedding that I ever shot by myself was at the old cathedral downtown, the one that's right next to the arch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd everything go that day? Was it smooth as silk, or did we have little mishaps that we don't tell the clients about?
Well, there are always, when you're dealing with a wedding, any wedding, you have 10,000 different moving parts, and there are always going to be a few little things that don't go according to plan. So, that always happens. And plus, when it's your first time doing something, you always have, some amount of nerves going on. This is something important that you're doing. This is somebody's wedding day. You really don't want to screw up.
Right. I still get butterflies, and we do 200 weddings a year.
Yeah, there's no such thing as getting rid of the butterflies, because you know as well as I do, you don't get a second shot at these things. If I'm shooting a movie and I'm in a studio and something flubs up, we can go, okay, everybody just reset and we'll do that again.
Yeah.
You do not get a second attempt to do anything on a wedding day. It's one shot, and if you get it, you got it, and if you don't, it's done.
Yeah, it's true. So let's talk about if you're an engaged couple and you're watching this episode and you're considering videography, what is the first thing that you want to make sure engaged couples know or think about?
Well, there is one thing that I would always make sure that I tell my couples is that you want to decide if your video is a priority for you. And what I mean by that is, for a lot of people, when they're planning their wedding, they will head straight to the photography, they will head straight to the DJ, the venue. If they get a video, a lot of times it's something that comes on much later in the process, and somebody says, hey, you need to have somebody record this, and they haven't even thought about that. A lot of times what you have end up is that you will hire some company to come in, and basically what they do is they just set up the camera on a tripod, hit record, and that's your wedding video.
Right.
For a lot of people, that's going to be good enough.
Aunt Susie
yeah.
has her little smartphone on a tripod.
Right. And exactly, you don't necessarily need to hire a professional to do that. I'll be completely honest with you. If all you want is a still shot of you at the altar, you don't necessarily need to hire a professional videographer to get that. But if your video is something that is actually a priority to you, if your video is something that you put on par with your photography, your DJ, those other really important parts, which I would say it should be, but I'm not going to tell you what you should think. That is the time when you really want to get a professional.
100%.
You don't want somebody who is going to be shooting on their iPhone, with respect to Uncle Bob and Aunt Sally. You want somebody who has experience in weddings specifically, because as I mentioned before, it is a much different type of shoot than doing something in a studio or on a film set or something like that.
And professionals who do this all the time know what's coming up next. They know the flow of a ceremony. They know the flow of a reception and where to be and where the best angles are.
That is an incredible point. That's something that I was going to bring up, is because exactly, if you've had that experience, I can say, okay, this is the thing that's coming up next. I need to set up my cameras in this position. I need to be in this spot. Those are things that a person who doesn't do this for a living isn't necessarily going to know. It's not their fault. But at the end, you will end up with a subpar video just because the person who is shooting your video doesn't have that experience.
That's true. So let's, I want to hear like one of the funniest or worst case scenario things that has ever happened. Because we all have them. Yes. I mean, let's be honest, we all have them.
So I was, I actually love this story. I tell it all the time. We were just about to start a ceremony. I was in the back of the church with the bride and her father, and she's about to start her walk down the aisle. The music's playing and all that. And she takes one step, and you hear, rip.
Oh, no.
She had stepped on the inner layer of her dress and stepped down, and when she took that step, she ripped open a seam on the inside of her dress right before she's about to walk down the aisle. Now this is going to tie into having somebody with experience. So I have a little kit that I bring with me in addition to all my camera gear. And in my kit there is 4 different kinds of tape. There are batteries, there are glue, and a sewing kit.
Smart.
Yes. So once I heard that rip, I run over to my sewing kit, I get my needle and my thread, and I go at it. And 10 minutes later, her dress had been stitched up.
Yeah.
And she was ready to walk down the aisle again.
Meanwhile, the groom's at the end of the altar, like, wondering if she ran off, maybe? She's not coming to the wedding?
Well, we told everybody there was going to be a short delay because we had to get her dress sorted. She was not going to walk down the aisle with her dress ripped the way it was.
Right.
But like I said, luckily I was able to, get under there and do some cross stitching. And 10 minutes later, we were good to go. And both she and her father were just so grateful on the day they told me that I saved the day, which I thought was an exaggeration, but it was still nice to hear.
You saved the day. Yeah, please to the rescue. I love that.
So I love telling that story.
And that's important too, because professionals, we are always prepared for the unprepared situations, and our team knows that we always have a backup to a backup to a backup, because there is always something. Our clients don't usually know about it because we want to make sure that they are cool, calm, collected, enjoying their day. There's usually something.
Right. There's always something.
So let's see. What are some of the frequently asked questions that you hear about from couples on a regular basis? But then also, what are some questions that you've been hearing with COVID being present?
Fantastic question, because COVID threw a wrench in the works on basically everybody's everything. When COVID first hit and everything shut down and we were doing, reduced capacity for venues and things like that, one of the biggest things that came forward with that was the need to be able to do a high quality live stream.
Okay.
A lot of people are somewhat familiar with doing live streams. You might get on your Facebook or your Instagram or something like that and record a short 30-second video. But if you had to do, say, a professional quality live stream, say for your wedding day, something that's important, something where the quality of the audio and the video is incredibly important to get right, I don't think that there were anybody at that time. I don't think there was a single wedding vendor who could do a high quality live stream like that, because it just wasn't something that anybody needed to do before COVID.
So nobody was really equipped for that.
Right.
Gotcha.
So the first thing that I did when venues started reducing capacity and that demand started increasing, I went out and I invested in some new equipment to be able to do a high quality live stream, which is rather than say we were alluding to Uncle Bob's iPhone before. So
yeah. Love you, Uncle Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Uncle Bob. But what I can do now, thanks to the new equipment that I invested in, is I can take my professional grade cameras and I can do a high quality live stream using those cameras
cool.
and using my microphone. So using all that professional level equipment, I can use those to live stream with now. Which, again, with respect to Uncle Bob, is just light years beyond what he's able to do with his iPhone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. So if couples are interested in packages, can they find that information on your website? Do they need to contact you to set up a consultation?
Absolutely. There's a screening process to go through. What you want to do is visit my website at www.truevideostl.com. There you'll find all sorts of information that will be useful to you, as well as some examples of my previous work. Every couple that I work with gets a personalized video package that is specifically built and tailored to fit your style and your budget. So there are no two packages that are going to be exactly the same. And if you go to the website, there is a blog section on the website where you can check out the different examples of some videos that I've made for different couples. And you will be able to see how each couple kind of gave their own level of creative input into their videos. These are not all cookie cutter videos that look exactly the same. Each couple has had creative input into what they wanted their video to look like, and it's been built specifically for them.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for watching today's episode of Wedding Sushi. And if you are looking for live music, DJ services, photo booths, event lighting, or event planning, hop on over to allegrostl.com and be sure to call Lance if you have videography on your must-have list. Until next time, happy planning.